Barrett, one less football game to watch today. Good afternoon, and what is your take on what has been going on around college football this week and really around the whole sports world for that matter?
I think it's sad. I mean, this is I know that generally speaking, the testing procedures have changed from last year to this year. But, if you're testing symptomatic players in the wintertime, everybody's got a cold, right? So you're going to test basically everybody, and some of it's going to be COVID, and these kids are healthy. So I think it's more of a protocol issue than anything else. I think it's unfortunate that these kids are getting games taken away from them, experiences taken away from them. And I don't think that it's been handled properly. And I think that has to do with the fact that I think the NCAA and a lot of people in reality were kind of caught off guard with how quickly this variant spreads, but it spreads quickly and isn't as severe as other strains. So I think it was just one of those things where I think a lot of folks were caught off guard with just how kind of COVID evolved from August till now.
Barrett, I know that everyone is saying the same thing. Well, we didn't see this coming. We didn't from the president on down. But what could college football specifically have done differently, if anything, to try to deal with this? I mean, basketball is another issue. We're seeing a lot of cancellations, but the season is a long way from being over. But you can't bring these games back in college.
No, you can't bring them back. Obviously, they didn't build in any way to do that this year. I think the easy issue is don't test as much. If someone's not sick or barely sick, has a runny nose, let it breathe for a little while, right? Like let that sort of – we know that this specific variant is not as severe. So – don't test unless it starts to look more severe than a cold. I think that would solve a lot of problems because a lot of these players aren't sick, and if they are, they don't even know it. So, there's not much you could have done from a rescheduling standpoint for the regular season. I think the bowl games, obviously, after what happened last year, you're going to see, more times where the games get canceled for a variety of different reasons, opt-outs, injuries, whatever. But I don't think that you're going to have this issue with the playoff games because I think they understand that even though they released protocols last week on how cancellations would be handled, I think that was more of a stopgap than anything else.
Barrett, you mentioned opt-outs, and that's certainly been one of the big topics lately in college football. Is there anything else that can be done? A lot of proposals have been made from the bowls paying the players, but when you see guys opt out of the Rose Bowl, I don't think a gift card's going to really matter, is it?
No, it's not. It's not going to matter, and I don't think there's anything you really can do about opt-outs for players because they have their best interest at heart. So, yeah, I mean, if bowls want to pay the players, okay, but is that going to prevent a guy that's going to be a first-round draft pick from bailing on the Rose Bowl? No, it's not. That's I don't care how much a bowl game could pay. I think what needs to happen is that you need to turn these bowl games into spring games on steroids and allow players who have played 4 games this year to play a 5th game in a bowl game and not lose that year of eligibility. Because, look, if you're getting to a point now if you have a ton of opt-outs, and we're seeing Auburn right now play with, 6 or 7 players not available, you're kind of putting your team at a safety risk, right? Because you're putting players out there that haven't played that much, haven't prepared that much. And if these opt-outs continue, then you're going to be in a situation where you have an incredibly depleted position, and you're going to have to put people in there, and you're going to seriously put them at risk. So allow younger players to play, not use a game in terms of preserving their red shirt, and allow coaching staff to experiment a little bit with how these players are going to fit into the game plan next year. I think that's the way to go about it. And honestly, it would make a lot of lower to middle tier bowl games really interesting, especially like the game that we're watching right now, the Birmingham Bowl, for a team like Auburn that had a disappointing season but still has a talented roster with players that really didn't get a ton of experience this year.
Barrett, we'll get to the CFP in a minute, but we haven't had a chance to talk to you since there have been so many coaching changes from LSU hiring Brian Kelly to Napier. Just your thoughts on the incoming coaches to the SEC. What do you make out of them?
Well, I think Napier's the right hire at Florida. I know that generally his name isn't the big name, but when you see what he's been able to do as a recruiter throughout his career, that matters. And that was the specific problem at Florida. And I think we've seen that with some articles this week where it was referenced where they didn't even really have a plan in terms of recruiting at Florida. So he immediately checks that box. And then I think when you look at what he was able to do at Louisiana, essentially building a Sun Belt juggernaut with double-digit win seasons every time out, he fixed the coaching aspect. He understood the coaching aspect. He learned how to do that. So I love the fact that Florida didn't go for the big PR splash and decided to make the right hire. With Brian Kelly, I might be in the minority. I love it. I think when Brian Kelly goes for 10 wins essentially every season at Notre Dame with a talent disadvantage, with academic restrictions, all that stuff, then you put him in a situation where he's going to have better players, and he's going to be awesome. I mean, he's going to be awesome. And I know Notre Dame was a joke on the national stage 2 of the last 3 years, and also in Miami when they lost to Alabama in the BCS championship game. But you got to understand, those teams are significantly less talented than the other teams in the playoff or in the BCS case, Alabama. So to me, I think that you put him in a situation where he can get that kind of top-tier talent, he's going to do some damage at LSU. I do think he's going to win a national championship on the Bayou.
Did I hear that correctly? Barrett Sallee picking LSU to do good things?
I did this year. That didn't work out so well. That was the only time that I picked them to do well, though. This is now 2. This is now the second time that I've been on board with LSU. Although I will not, not next year, Paul. Maybe next year, Paul. But in the future, I do think Brian Kelly can win a national championship there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.